Some games tell you where to go. Open world games simply say, go anywhere. Climb the tallest mountain, drive across an entire country, or just wander until you find something incredible. And today, we're diving into some of the most immersive open worlds gaming has ever created. Assassin's Creed Mirage brings the series back to something fans had been missing for a long time: the feeling of being a true assassin. Instead of a massive world packed with endless distractions, the game focuses on a single city, Baghdad. And surprisingly, that makes the world feel even more alive. The streets are crowded, markets are loud, guards are always watching. Suddenly, every rooftop matters. You're not just running through the city, you're studying it, looking for escape routes, perfect hiding spots, the right moment to strike without being seen. But here's the interesting part. Baghdad itself becomes your greatest weapon. You slip through alleyways, disappear into crowds, and move across rooftops like a ghost above the city. And before you realize it, the world stops feeling like a map and starts feeling like a playground built for stealth.
The stage is yours, specimen.
Cyberpunk 2077 takes open world design in a completely different direction. Instead of wide forests or open landscapes, this game drops you into a city that feels endless. Night City. A place filled with towering skyscrapers, glowing neon lights, and streets that never seem to slow down. But here's what makes it interesting. This world isn't just big, it's dense. Every district feels different. Every street corner feels alive. You walk past crowded markets, shady alleys, loud nightclubs, and giant corporate buildings that stretch into the sky. And the deeper you explore, the more the city begins to reveal its personality. Sometimes it feels exciting. Sometimes it feels dangerous. But it always feels alive. And before you realize it, you're not just exploring a map anymore, you're navigating a city that seems to have a life of its own. Red Dead Redemption 2 doesn't just give you an open world, it gives you a living frontier. You step into a world where the Wild West is slowly fading away, and every road feels like it carries a story. Ride through quiet forests, cross endless plains, or wander into small towns where life moves at its own pace. But here's the interesting part. This world never feels like it's waiting for you. People go about their day. Animals roam the wilderness. Storms rolled in across the horizon. And suddenly, you realize something. You're not just exploring the world, you're living in it. Sometimes the most memorable moments aren't big shootouts or missions. They're the quiet ones. A sunset over the mountains. A lonely road stretching into the distance. Moments that make the world feel real.
A pair of hucksters trying to rob each other. Back in 78 or thereabouts.
Yeah, it's a lovely.
Watch Dogs 2 turns the entire city into your playground. San Francisco is bright, colorful, and full of life. Busy streets, crowded parks, cars constantly moving through the city. But here's where things get interesting. You're not just exploring this world, you're controlling it. Traffic lights, security cameras, and even entire systems across the city. With a single hack, everything around you can suddenly change. You can cause chaos in traffic, sneak past security without being seen, or create the most ridiculous situations just to see what happens. And this is where the world becomes really fun, because the city isn't just something you move through, it's something you can manipulate. Every street, every building, every device becomes part of your toolkit. And certainly, San Francisco feels less like a map and more like a giant sandbox waiting for you to experiment. It's up to you. Ghost of Tsushima shows how an open world can feel like art. From the moment you step onto the island, everything feels calm, almost peaceful. Golden fields stretch across the land, cherry blossoms drift through the air. The wind moves quietly across the mountains. But beneath that beauty, there's a world at war. And what makes this open world special is how it guides you. There's no need for constant markers or distractions. Instead, the wind points the way. You follow it across forests, villages, and quiet temples hidden in the hills. Sometimes you discover new stories. Sometimes you simply stop and take in the view. And that's the magic of Tsushima. Exploration doesn't feel like a task, it feels like a journey. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 turns New York City into something incredibly fun to explore. Not by walking, not by driving, but by swinging. The moment you launch yourself between skyscrapers, the city opens up in a completely different way. Traffic moves far below, helicopters pass overhead, and the skyline stretches endlessly in every direction. But here's the best part. Getting from one place to another never feels like travel. It feels like freedom. You're constantly moving, swinging through streets, gliding across rooftops, and launching yourself across the skyline. Sometimes you're chasing criminals. Other times you're just enjoying the ride. And before you realize it, the entire city becomes your playground. An open world where simply moving around is half the fun.
I have what it takes to protect the people I love.
Grand Theft Auto 5 shows just how chaotic an open world can be. Los Santos is massive, unpredictable, and constantly alive. One moment you're driving through busy city streets. The next moment you're flying across the skyline in a stolen helicopter. But here's what makes this world so entertaining. Freedom. You can follow the story or completely ignore it. Drive into the desert, explore the mountains, cause absolute chaos in the middle of the city. And somehow the world always reacts. Police chases suddenly explode into action. Random events appear when you least expect them. And every road feels like it leads to something ridiculous. Los Santos isn't just a place you visit. It's a sandbox where almost anything can happen. Far Cry 5 drops you into the quiet countryside of Montana. At first, Hope County looks peaceful. White fields, small towns, long roads stretching through forests and mountains. But that calm feeling doesn't last very long, because this open world is constantly throwing unexpected moments at you. One minute, you're simply driving through the countryside, and the next, a truck full of cult members is chasing you down the road. And this is where things get interesting. Hope County never feels predictable. Animals appear out of nowhere. Random encounters interrupt your journey. Explosions suddenly turn a quiet road into chaos. Sometimes you plan your next move carefully. Other times, the world throws you into complete madness. And honestly, that unpredictability is what makes exploring Hope County so much fun. You never really know what's going to happen next. Assassin's Creed Odyssey takes open-world exploration to an enormous scale. You're dropped into ancient Greece, a world filled with islands, cities, mountains, and endless sea. And the first thing you notice is just how vast everything feels. Sail across bright blue oceans, climb ancient temples, or wander through crowded cities filled with soldiers, merchants, and travelers. But here's the interesting part. Exploration never feels limited to land. Your ship becomes just as important as your horse. You travel between islands, discovering new places that each feel like their own small adventure. Sometimes you're chasing a quest. Other times you're simply following the horizon to see what's waiting there. And before long, the world of ancient Greece starts to feel truly endless.
You were sent by the gods to protect this world. You carry the blade of Leonidas.
Forza Horizon 5 proves that open worlds aren't just about fighting enemies or completing quests. Sometimes they're about freedom. Pure driving freedom. You're dropped into a massive version of Mexico where every road invites you to explore. Deserts stretch endlessly under the sun. Dense jungles hide winding paths. Small towns sit quietly between mountains. And here's the best part. You're not forced to follow one route. You can race across highways at full speed, or leave the road completely and drive straight into the wilderness. And this is where the world becomes special, because every environment feels different. One moment you're drifting through city streets, the next moment you're blasting across sand dunes with nothing but open land ahead. And suddenly, the journey itself becomes the most exciting part. Elden Ring approaches open world design in a completely different way. It doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't tell you exactly where to go. Instead, it simply opens the world and lets you wander. The lands between stretch endlessly in every direction. Ruined castles sit on distant cliffs. Dark forests hide secrets beneath the trees. And here's the fascinating part. Almost everything you see in the distance, you can reach. That massive tower on the horizon, you can climb it. And the more you explore, the more the world reveals itself. Not through instructions, but through curiosity.
Such as it is, this battle could not be more fitting.
Hogwarts Legacy lets you step into a world many players grew up dreaming about. Not just visiting Hogwarts, but actually living in it. You walk through massive castle halls, climb moving staircases, and discover rooms that seem to appear when you least expect them. But the adventure doesn't stop inside the castle. Step outside and the world opens up. Forests filled with magical creatures, small villages hidden between hills, ancient ruins waiting to be explored. And slowly, the game starts to feel less like a map and more like a magical world you've finally been allowed to explore.
That strange and mysterious talent you possess may be the key to unlocking this dormant power.
Ghost of Yotei continues the idea that an open world can feel calm, yet powerful at the same time. You step into a land filled with wide landscapes, quiet villages, and mountains standing tall in the distance. At first, everything feels peaceful. Wind moving through the grass, snow falling quietly across the land, long roads stretching toward the horizon. But just like any samurai story, that calm world hides danger. Every journey across the land can lead to unexpected encounters. Sometimes it's a quiet moment of exploration. Other times, a sudden duel waiting on the road ahead. And that contrast is what makes the world so engaging, because every ride across the landscape feels like the beginning of another story. Days Gone drops you into a world that feels dangerous from the very beginning. Broken roads stretch across the wilderness. Abandoned towns sit quietly in the distance. And everywhere you go, there's a constant feeling that something might be watching. Traveling through this world is never simple. Fuel runs low, weather changes suddenly, and the wilderness always feels unpredictable. But here's the real tension: the infected. Not just a few enemies here and there, but massive hordes that can appear when you least expect them. And when that happens, survival becomes the only thing that matters. Because in this open world, the road ahead is never truly safe.
Perfect. Just perfect.
Skyrim is one of those open worlds that players keep returning to, even years after its release. From the moment you step into the snowy mountains of Skyrim, the world feels vast and full of possibilities. Ancient ruins hide forgotten stories. Small villages sit quietly between towering peaks, and dragons circle high above the sky. But what makes this world special is the freedom it gives you. You can follow the main story or completely ignore it. Instead, you might wander into a cave, climb a mountain just to see the view, or stumble upon a quest you never expected. And somehow, every journey feels like your own story unfolding. That sense of endless adventure is what made Skyrim a legend in open-world gaming. The Crew Motorfest takes open-world exploration and turns it into a celebration of cars. You're dropped onto a vibrant version of Hawaii where every road feels like an invitation to drive. Palm trees line the highways, ocean waves crash beside coastal roads, and mountains rise in the distance waiting to be climbed. But here's the fun part. You're never limited to just one type of driving. One moment, you're racing across smooth city streets. The next moment, you're drifting along coastal highways with the ocean right beside you. And suddenly, the world stops feeling like a racetrack and starts feeling like a giant road trip waiting to happen. Death Stranding shows a very different side of open-world exploration. Instead of rushing through cities or fighting enemies every few minutes, this world slows everything down. You play as Sam, a courier traveling across a broken America, trying to reconnect isolated communities. At first, the world feels empty. Vast landscapes stretch in every direction. Rocky mountains block your path. Rivers and steep cliffs turn simple journeys into real challenges. But here's the interesting part. The world itself becomes the main obstacle. Every step matters. Every path you choose can make the journey easier or much harder. Sometimes you're carefully balancing cargo while crossing dangerous terrain. Other times you're building bridges, ladders, and roads that help both you and other players travel more safely. And slowly, the world starts to change. Not through destruction or combat, but through connection.
It's okay. She's only connected to me. Not like the other BTs. You can see it, right? You're hooked up.
The Outer Worlds 2 takes the idea of an open world and pushes it into space. Instead of exploring one single map, you're stepping into a universe filled with strange planets, dangerous corporations, and choices that can completely change how the story unfolds. At first glance, the worlds look colorful and almost playful. Bright alien landscapes, unusual creatures wandering across the terrain, colonies trying to survive on the edge of the galaxy. But here's where things get interesting. This universe is controlled by powerful corporations, and every decision you make can shift the balance between them. Sometimes you'll be helping a struggling colony. Other times you might be working for the very companies that caused the problem in the first place. And that's what makes exploring these worlds so engaging, because every new planet isn't just a place to discover, it's a place where your choices can shape the future.
Or finished any gameplay that's actually ready to show. In fact, the only thing they have finished is the title.
The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt drops you into a world that feels raw, dangerous, and incredibly alive. War has left its mark everywhere. Villages struggle to survive, soldiers patrol the roads, and dark forests hide creatures that most people are too afraid to even speak about. But here's what makes this open world special. It doesn't just look big, it feels meaningful. Every town you visit has its own problems. Every road might lead to a hidden story. And even the smallest side quest can turn into something unforgettable. Sometimes you're hunting monsters for a contract. Other times you're helping strangers whose lives are falling apart because of the war. And slowly, the world starts to feel less like a game and more like a place full of real people and difficult choices. And that's the beauty of open world games. They don't just give you missions to complete, they give you worlds to explore. Places where every road, every mountain, and every city hides something unexpected. And honestly, the best part about these games is that every player experiences them differently. So whether you're chasing adventure, exploring new landscapes, or simply getting lost in a world that feels alive, open world games always have something waiting for you. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.